Have you ever wondered what really goes on inside a beehive? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most incredible processes in the natural world. It's part biology, part art, and a whole lot of mind-blowing engineering. We're going to find out exactly how you make a queen bee. So, really, how do you make a queen bee? You might think it's some kind of royal birthright, that some bees are just born to be queen. But that's not it at all. It's actually a carefully orchestrated process that can turn any ordinary female larva into the single most important bee in a colony of thousands. Okay, so the first thing to get is that this whole thing isn't about luck or chance. It is a precise act of engineering. And it all starts with two key things: getting the timing just right, and most importantly, choosing the absolute best genetics. You see, raising a queen has to be perfectly synced with nature's calendar. It doesn't matter if you're in a colder place or somewhere warm and sunny, it all kicks off when flowers are blooming and there's plenty of pollen and nectar to go around. And this is critical. You need a sky full of mature male bees, the drones, ready and waiting for the queen's big flight. Every single new generation of queens can be traced back to one mom, one exceptional, hand-picked mother. She's known as the breeder queen. Think of her as the genetic blueprint, the source code from which all the future queens are going to be made. And beekeepers are looking for some very specific, elite traits in this mom. They want hives that are absolute powerhouses at making honey, tough enough to get through harsh winters, and, docile, which just means they're not too aggressive and are safer to manage. That last one, a solid brood pattern, that's the visual proof. It shows she's a healthy, vigorous egg-laying machine, which means a strong workforce for the hive. All right, so once you've got your genetic blueprint, you need to build the perfect nursery. And we're not talking about just any old hive. No, this is a special colony, what they call a builder colony. And its entire purpose is to do one thing and one thing only: raise new queens. So how do you make one? Well, it boils down to three really crucial steps. First, you feed them nonstop. This tricks them into thinking there's a massive nectar flow, which kicks their royal jelly production into overdrive. Second, and this is the absolute key, you make the colony queenless. This creates an emergency and the bees become desperate to raise a new queen. And finally, you stack the deck with the right workers. Tons of young nurse bees. And when I say you stock it, I mean it. The perfect builder hive is literally described as being packed full of bees, wall to wall. This density is so important because you need an overwhelming army of those young nurse bees, they're the ones who make the royal jelly, to make sure our future queens get the ridiculously rich diet they need to develop. With the royal nursery prepped and ready to go, we get to the most delicate, the most pivotal moment in this whole saga. This is the art of the graft, where a beekeeper literally reaches in and chooses which tiny larvae will get a shot at becoming royalty. Grafting is pretty much what it sounds like. It's this incredibly delicate surgery, moving a tiny, almost microscopic larva from its boring old worker cell into a special, man-made queen cup. And the timing here is everything. The larva has to be less than 36 hours old for this to have any chance of working. It's a tiny window. I love this quote from one of our sources because it just paints the perfect picture. The beekeeper is searching for these little, tiny larvae sitting in nice, big puddles of food. That puddle he's talking about, that's royal jelly. And it's the sign that this larva is healthy, well-fed, and at the perfect age to start its transformation into a queen. Okay, so the moment that larva gets placed into the builder colony, a dramatic and super fast transformation begins. The clock is officially ticking on this journey from a nearly invisible speck to a fully formed queen. And how long does it take? Just 16 days. That's it. From the moment the egg was laid to the moment a new queen chews her way out of her cell, it's an unbelievably fast-paced development, and every single day counts. So let's break that down. Within the first 2 days, the builder bees totally accept the new larvae and just start flooding them with royal jelly. By day 5, the cell is capped with wax so the larva can pupate in peace. Then, between days 8 and 10, these ripe queen cells are carefully harvested. And then, around day 12, she's born. A new virgin queen emerges. Now, these harvested cells are incredibly delicate, so to protect them from any damage or temperature changes, they're moved into an incubator. It basically maintains a perfect, stable environment, giving the pupa inside the best possible shot at making it. But coming out of her cell isn't the finish line, not even close. The virgin queen now has to face her final and by far her most dangerous trial, the mating flight. This single event will decide the fate of her entire colony. To get her ready, she's placed in a tiny little starter hive called a mating nuke. You can think of it as her own personal launch pad. It's a safe, controlled spot where she can mature for a few days before she takes to the skies. And get this, she only gets one shot. One! A queen bee takes a single mating flight in her entire life. In that one trip, she has to mate with enough drones to store all the sperm she'll need for the rest of her life, enough to lay maybe 2,000 eggs a day for years to come. The stakes are just incredibly high. So what does a successful trip look like? Well, she'll fly high up into the air and mate with somewhere between 7 and 15 different drones from other colonies. This is so important because mixing up the genetics like that creates massive diversity in her colony, which makes the whole hive way more resilient against diseases and other problems. And the turnaround time is just astonishing. If her flight was a success, she comes back to her little hive, and within about 48 hours, she begins her life's work, laying eggs. And this right here is the moment of truth for the beekeeper. A few days later, they'll go check on her. And seeing a frame filled with tiny, perfect, uniform eggs, that's the ultimate sign of success. It means the new queen has passed her final test. She is officially online and ready to lead a colony. So why go through all this trouble? Because a brand new, successfully mated queen is like a shot of pure youth and vigor for the entire bee yard. She replaces older, failing queens and makes sure the colonies stay productive, healthy, and strong for the season. Which really brings us to the final thought here. This whole process, from a beekeeper selecting the right traits, to the bees instinctively knowing how to build a queen cell, to the queen's perilous flight, it's this amazing dance between human knowledge and raw natural instinct. And when you see a system this complex and this precise, what does that tell you about the incredible, hidden engineering that's happening in the natural world all around us?